Hello and welcome back to David Anderson Longbow Arrows. This is video 1 where we're going to be asking the question, what do you want to use your arrows for? And no, we're not saying shooting from a bow because that's pretty obvious. What we're actually asking is, your arrows, what type of archery are they going to be for? Are we talking about short distance? Are we talking indoor? Are we talking outdoor? Are we talking clout? Now this is the fundamental question that you need to ask yourself before you even go and buy any archery supplies. And I can assure you that just about every video on YouTube and on the internet will never ask this question. So what are you going to do with the arrows? What I would suggest you do is get yourself a pencil and a notebook and start jotting these things down. So question number 1, am I creating an arrow for indoor use or outdoor use? Okay, if it's outdoor, am I talking about short range, sort of like up to 20-30 yards? Am I talking about mid-range up to around about 60? Or am I talking longer than that, sort of like 80, 100, or even for clout where possibly 100, 120, 180 yards? So you need to be thinking about what you're going to be doing with the arrow, because that will determine what wood you're going to be using for it, what shaft diameter you're going to be using, what point you're going to be using. Okay, every arrow, every style of target of archery is different, and for us longbow archers, we may end up with half a dozen different sets of arrows depending on what we're actually doing with them. So the first thing, the wood. What wood are we going to be using? Okay, generally there are 3 types of wood available to you. You have spruce, pine and cedar, quite often Port Orford cedar. There are other woods available. Fir is a very good one, hemlock fir. Scots pine is really good as well, but although they call it Scots pine, it's not actually from Scotland. It's actually, the proper name is Scandinavian redwood. Very good wood. There's also ash that you could use. Some people have even made arrows out of oak, but a lot of it just really depends on what you're going to be doing with the arrow itself. So choose your wood. Do you want a heavy wood or a light wood? Okay, spruce is quite light, cedar is quite heavy. Okay, in video 0 we did talk about spine weight of the arrow, we talked about the bow weight of your bow itself and how those two match each other. Okay, so quite an important thing to do there is, obviously you need to, when you go and buy your arrow shafts, is make sure that the spine weight of the shaft that you're buying matches the bow weight. The point, this is the actual arrowhead itself. For longer distances you want something quite lightweight, maybe 70 grain, 60 grain or lighter. For shorter distance perhaps you may want, I don't know, 100 grain, 125 grain. Okay. So that then to determine what points you need to go and buy from the shop, and you should be writing all this down. Okay, so the next thing is we're going to be looking at is the feathers. A big feather for shorter distances, it creates more drag, it's arguably more accurate as well, helps stabilize the arrow very quickly, but because they're big, they're no good for long distances where you want a shorter arrow. Not shorter arrow, a shorter feather. Okay, creates less drag. Finally, nocks. I generally use AA Plasti nocks. They're very good, very well made, does the job nicely. However, you might decide that you want to go for a self knock or a horn knock, and these will be discussed in a later video in greater detail, and also a supplementary video on how you actually do how you make self knocks and horn knocks. Okay. So all of this you need to be writing down. You're making a list and saying, this is the wood I'm using, this is the diameter of the wood, whether it's 932, 516 or 1132. This is the point that I'm using, these are the feathers, this is the length of the feather, this is the profile or the shape of the feather if you like, and these are the nocks that I'm using. Once you've got that written down, okay, you can then make an arrow and then test it. And if you remember back into the previous video, I said every arrow that you make is an experiment, okay, because one size does not fit all. Okay, what works for one archer may not work for you as a second archer. Okay, so it's all about trial and error. You may find that from shooting from a 35-pound bow that a 30-pound spine arrow shaft works well. It may work even better if you knock it down to 29 pounds. Okay, so you need to try and you need to experiment and find the optimal for you. So that's this one here. So the question is that we're asking is, what am I going to do with these arrows? What's the whole point of making them? Making a list of the components that you need, trial and error. Okay, and then once you've done that, we'll then move into video 2, where we look into more detail about various wood types and the diameters, etc. Okay, and then video 3, we're going to be looking at the actual shaft itself, looking at straightness and how we straighten arrow shafts, before we go into all the nooks and crannies of weights and measures in video 4. So I'll see you in the next video. Thanks for watching.